Yes, of course. Yeah.
So Sal runs a property called Khan Academy, which I think is the #1 education property on the planet. But his history is a little bit different than that. So he and I actually went to college together and have been close friends since then. Actually, our wives are both physicians, and they live like a mile from us, so we stay in close touch. But I went the tech route out of college, and he went the hedge fund route. And in 2008, I had just joined YouTube, and him and his wife had come over for dinner, and I was telling him, "Oh, I just joined YouTube," and he said, "Oh, that's really exciting. I actually do a lot on YouTube." And I said, "Oh, that's great. Lots of people are using YouTube," but I didn't really put much into it. He said, "No, I don't mean that. I mean, I publish on YouTube." And then he started telling me more. And the story is that he was tutoring his niece in Louisiana, and the most efficient way for him to get video to her was over YouTube, because attaching videos to emails is really hard. And so what they would do is she would send him a set of questions, and he would solve them and send it back on YouTube. And he just left the public bit on, and people started watching it. He's telling me about this, and I'm like, "Oh, that's kind of interesting." He said, no, lots of people watch. It's like, "Okay, got it." I went to work the next day, and I looked it up in the stats, and immediately emailed Sal. And I said, "Sal, I don't think you realize this, but at the time, Stanford and MIT, both of our alma maters, had been putting all their content on YouTube." I said, "Sal, you're not going to believe this. You get more viewership than Stanford and MIT combined." And I said, "By the way, we have this new thing called the YouTube Partner Program, and if you become part of it, then you can make money on your videos." And he said, "Oh, that's kind of cool. Let's try it." And so opts into the partner program. So a few months go by. He's over at my house again, and actually, his wife and my wife are both pregnant at the same time, and which is important to the story. And we started having a conversation, and he says, "Shishir, thanks for setting me up in the YouTube Partner Program. It's pretty cool seeing this hobby of mine turn into a little bit of a small business." And he says, "I'm a mathematician, so I've been plotting a little bit what the trajectory of this is." And he kind of lowered his voice a bit, and he said, "As I can tell, right now, my income coming from this partner program, if I just project out just a few months, it'll pay for our rent. And if I project out a little bit further than that, I think it'll cover my hedge fund salary. And I much prefer doing this over being at a hedge fund. Maybe I should just do this full time. What do you think?" And his wife, shoots me this death stare, and so it's very clear what she wants me to say. And Sal asks a question, says, "Do you think this is real? Is this going to continue?" And I told him, kind of avoid his wife, and said, I can't promise anything, but I told him my view on maker generation and so on. And said, "I think it's real. I'm betting my career on it, and I think you should too." And I mean, Sal did all himself, so I did this tiny nudge and an otherwise amazing career. But if you step back and think about that, right? So another way to tell that story is, imagine it went the other way. Imagine Sal had gone and tried to pitch this idea to a cable network, right? And he showed up and he said, "Hey, I've got this idea for a new show." And they say, "Great. So do you have any experience in entertainment?" And say, No experience at all." So, "Okay. What kind of show is it?" Says, "Well, it's an education show." Says, "Well, are you an educator? Are you a teacher?" "No, I'm a hedge fund guy." "Okay. Well, that's 2 strikes. So tell me about the show." And he'd say, "Well, here's my idea. I'm going to start at the front of the algebra book. I'm going to solve a problem. I'm going to solve the next problem, and then when I'm at the end of the book, I'm going to switch to the next book. I'm going to solve the next problem. By the way, I'm never going to show my face in any video. There's no theme music. There's no characters. There's no nothing. Right? That's it. I'm just going to solve problem after problem after problem." I think he would have gotten laughed out of every room in Hollywood. And thankfully, he didn't have to pitch anybody. And so he just starts doing it. Turns out it's really popular, and everybody started watching it. The reason I like that story is, I think that this idea, online video is going to do to cable what cable did to broadcast, is all framed underneath in a belief in people. It's a belief in these makers, that they're going to come from unexpected places, and if you can remove the barrier, then they're going to surprise us. So that's what happened with YouTube. Now, my view is that I think the same thing is happening in every industry. If I look around, I see, Etsy now allows anybody who's great with hobbies and crafts to turn it into a business, and Airbnb allows everybody that has a little bit of extra space to become a hotelier. And even if you look at gaming these days, and you look at Minecraft and Fortnite, so on, the expectation is not just that people play these games. The expectation is that you make these games. You're part of that creative process, and so I think it's happening everywhere. And one of the last places where the maker generation has had impact is software.